All right. So this is now the Afterburn, although I think we're already 15 minutes into it because I went long. So I want us to have an opportunity now to ask questions, make comments about today's teaching. If you're on the live stream, we have our Shamish team back there of Kurt and Gary taking care of that. I'm sure we got Rob on there as well. So they will take down and make notes of your comments and questions, and we'll get to those as we alternate back and forth between the people here in front and the people back there. And is it already 5:30? How did we get there so fast? I guess the prayer time went longer or something. Oh, the mini sermon I gave, that's what did it. Okay. All right, no Afterburn, it's 5:30. No, I'm kidding. Let's try and quickly go through some of these things. I know some of you are hungry, but you know what? So what? Right? Amen? I mean, hungry is the way he wants us to come. He wants us to come hungry and approach him hungry. So if you're hungry, that's good. Okay, that's really good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll begin with Ashley. We'll give the live stream a chance. We'll do 1 or 2 or 3 over here, and then we'll go over there. Try and keep it to, as specifically as you can to a comment or question. Go.
Thank you, Rabbi, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And thank you for bringing the snow again.
Hey, what can I say? I don't get cold.
It's the weirdest thing. Every time she goes to Florida, she comes back with snow.
You know, honestly, I pray when I'm down there, can you please take away the seat? Because I don't like the heat, and heat doesn't great when I touch the doorknob. Sorry.
It's only snowed here when she's gone to Florida. So if you want snow, send her to Florida. She'll come back and bring snow.
I'm going next week.
Okay, there you go. It might snow again. There you go. All right.
Okay, sorry. I would just wanted to say thank you for that teaching, because it's weird. Every time you have this teaching, it's like it's you and me talking. It really is. Especially this week with the vertical structure. And I just want to talk to you and also the people on live stream and encourage you guys. If you don't follow vertical structure, it's because you've been hurt. You've been hurt by your mom, by your dad. I've learned that with you. And I'm so sick of crying on camera. And, I just, you give that safe place. It's when you hold like we're delicate flowers, and yeah, you may not physically, but you may hit us and you may give us the boot or whatever, but it's like a dad should. And it's just it's so like beautiful. And I see how you are with Agnes when she wants counseling, and it's like that's why I encourage it, because I'm like you're safe with him, just go. And it's just beautiful, and I just want to say thank you. And then also with that, I discovered why it's so safe, because being on the streets and growing up, that covering, you're a shield from being stabbed from all the emotions, from being all the trauma. And it's just literally, it's like that magic carpet, and it's there. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Amen. Let me just real quickly just say this. I will always be what you need, not what you want, okay? If you come in needing quiet and soft, you actually get that. People have come and they've needed that at that moment. And I will sit there and sometimes you need just me to listen, and I won't interrupt and I'll just let you go. Other times you need to be interrupted because the noise is going and it needs to be stopped and interrupted so the pattern gets broken. I will be what you need, not what you want, okay? Sometimes you need strength in a quiet way. Sometimes you need strength in a stronger, louder way. But I will be adjusting and adapting to the need. I don't just have one style. You'll be surprised when you come and you have a need, and I can be very soft and very quiet with you. And other times I can be like, no, stop, cut through the noise, and then we go, and then we can bring it back down. And if I do get loud, if you allow that to calm you down or to stop the noise, you'll see I then bring it back down. Yes, you hear a lot when people talk about the boot. That may come if it's what you need. It doesn't just come just to have the boot, okay? It's only if you need it. And some of you come in asking for it, and then you get surprised when I don't give it to you, because that's not really what you needed, it's what you thought you needed, okay? Taylor.
Okay, hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
First, I want to say thank you about saying the whole thing with the counseling. This week, I had to counsel. Actually, I had to counsel 2 weeks ago, but I'm just like, I don't know why I haven't been. So you saying that to me, I felt like this entire teaching, I was stabbed on all sides, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. So I had a comment, though, about the You said midway, you want and you don't have, and that's why you suffer. I'm going to give the comment, but if it doesn't align, then just
That's okay.
tell me. But I realized this week that, and I was talking with a friend about it, that I come to him in prayer with this preconceived thing about like my desire and my issue that I talk about with you in counsel, and I'm like, I realize that that's like in my thought process every single time I come to him. And I realize that I'm not on the same wavelength with him most of the time, and that usually blocks my growth and where I want to be. And so I thought it was really cool that you said that. And we watched, I'm trying to remember what the teaching was. No, it was a little snippet. You talked about something, prepare your heart. That's what you talked about. And while me and my friend were talking about that, I realized that I have to like completely empty myself in order to receive that. And also adding on to it, you mentioned throughout the teaching too about comparison and how we're not supposed to compare. And what I talk about with you in counseling, I'm always, every single time I come here, I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had what they had, and I wish I was in their position. But I've realized that I just have to sit and stay in my own mindset in order to be and receive from him. So, yeah.
Amen. Amen. You need to embrace this point real strongly, real clearly. Unless you spend a lot of time here and everywhere else with somebody, you don't know them, okay? You only know what little you get to see. So when you think, I wish I had what they have, you don't know what they have. You only know what they're showing you. Some people are really good in public. Other people are not. But that doesn't mean that the ones who are not good in public are maybe not better somewhere else than people that are good in public are awful somewhere else. Just recognize you don't ever envy or desire what you think you know about somebody or what you see. You don't know them. There are a few people in your life that you actually know because you spend enough time with them and you get to hear the good and the bad, the ugly and everything else. Most people you are acquainted with. You don't really know them. And there should be no reason to be. I know there are spouses that do this. Well, you know, other husbands, blah, 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 or other wives, blah, you don't know what they're all doing. You just know what you've seen out here. I've seen, all of you have seen this. A couple looks great in public. Next thing you know, you find out they're divorced. You're like, how'd that happen? You never saw them fight. They always look great. They look like the best couple ever. And then now they're divorced. Anybody ever see that? Because they were good. I don't mean this in a bad, deceptive way. They were good at keeping their stuff private. And it is good to keep it private. I'm just saying, but since that is the case and should be the case with most people, you can't just judge things by what you see and try to compare what you've got to that. Because you're comparing their best public presentation to your private life. And that will never be a fair comparison. Okay? That will never be a fair comparison. Okay, Steve.
Okay, I'm glad you got to verse 22 because I read ahead and had a thought. Although it says, although you wash yourselves with lye and much soap, I know you touched on it, yet your crookedness is ingrained before me. So I saw that as we clean ourselves with our own standard and claim to have done what needs to be done rather than checking with or seeking out the person that it affected our behavior. Right, like with Abba, we didn't find out his standard, what should be done right. We made our own standard and says, oh, well, we're clean ourselves. Look, we used all the soap, we did all of this. And so in our own mind, we're clean, but in actuality, we should have checked with him, or if we've offended our brother, we should have checked with our brother to say, is this what makes things right?
Amen. Look, if there's a rule, let's just take an idea. Okay, I'm going to do something very basic. Let's say there's a rule, no eating in the living room, okay? And that's the rule in the house, no eating in the living room. And so you go ahead and you eat in the living room. And then you quickly clean everything up and vacuum it up and any crumbs and you wipe it all down. That's what's happening. But yet you still are breaking the rule. But now there's no evidence of it. You've covered it up. You think you've gotten away with it. But you're breaking the rules. So your heart and your mindset is disrespectful to the structure that you're in, and you're being untrue to the agreement you have and the relationship. But yet it looks good. That's kind of what he's talking about. But inside, kind of Yeshua mentioned something about whitened sepulchres and inside, right? Okay? A lot of dead man's bones and all that other stuff. So you've got this problem where you think I can make it look good out here because I clean it up real good. But the problem's still there and you keep doing it. So it doesn't really help enough that you're able to make it look like you didn't do anything. He knows, okay? Because some of you are thinking, and some of you probably do this, you're not supposed to do that, like eat in the living room, whatever it is, or eat in the bedroom, whatever the rule is, but you clean it up so you think you're getting away with it until one time you forget and you don't get away with it. And the crumbs are there and you get caught. Because you think you got everything, but you didn't. And so better to be true to the agreement, or if you have a problem with it, negotiate a new agreement. Okay, so that you then can do what you want to do, and just maybe you have to say, look, I want to do this. I know you don't want me to, but I promise I'll keep it clean. I promise I'll fix whatever it is, right? But don't cheat behind it. Don't be deceptive. So that's what he's saying. He's saying you're doing what you want, and then you're trying to present like you're okay and you didn't do anything. He's saying that doesn't work for me. All right, Janet?
Rabbi, thank you. I wanted to go with verse 19,
Yep.
when it says, know before and see that it is evil and bitter that you have forsaken Yahweh your Elohim, and that my fear is not in you. So I connected that with Devarim 17:12, because he's talking about instruction, where it says your own evil instructs you, so we're not receiving instruction. And I connected bitter with root of bitterness, but I wanted to ask you if you can expand, if I'm correct with those connections, if you can expand on the word bitter. Thank you.
Well, here it's talking about your own evil instructs you, your backsliding reprove you, it's bitter, etc. So it's connecting it directly to the relationship with Elohim. Deuteronomy 17 is doing the same thing. Okay, verse 12 of Deuteronomy says, the man who acts arrogantly so as not to listen to the priest who stands to serve there before Yahweh, or the judge, or the man, it's whoever's the person representing Yahweh, that man shall die or be bitter and suffer and be miserable, because it's Yahweh they're not listening to. They're convincing themselves it's the man they're not listening to. That's why they rejected the prophets and killed them and everything else, because there's just some guy. No, that guy represented and spoke for and was the voice of the Almighty. And how you treat that person matters. Maybe not to you, but to him. And everything that should really matter is what matters to him. Okay? Philip?
Okay, so with chapter 2, verse 34, I thought it was interesting that the wording there was the blood was on the corner of the garments. And we know that in the corner of the garments is where the seat's supposed to go. So I didn't know if there was a connection to that.
Okay, in my version, it doesn't say corner there, but it may be in the Hebrew that it does. But in mine, it doesn't. So, but it certainly could be a connection that makes sense, because if the blood is in the corner of the garments and he's trying to make a point where the seat was supposed to be there to remind you not to do these things, that certainly would be a good connection. I have to look at the Hebrew to see if that's actually what it says. But if it does, it really is an appropriate metaphor and visual that you should have there. Okay. Live stream.
All right, from Rodney, Jeremiah 2:23. Could this also pertain that we try to decide on how to love Abba and we fail, like Christmas, Easter, Sunday church, etc.?
I mean, look, it's the hypocrisy and the denial, living in denial, by saying, I'm not defiled and I've not done these things, but yet you've done them. Okay? And so, yes, so if you're going to say that I've come out of for my people, but you're still doing Christmas and Easter and Sunday and some of these other things, have you really come out?
Annie Uden, Rabbi, can you please explain Hebrews 8, verse 7 through 11, in context with today's teaching and Yeshua's death?
Hebrews 8, what verses?
7 through 11.
Okay, that's going to be more a part of a different teaching that really connects up. He's basically quoting Jeremiah 31, which we're not in 31, we're in chapter 2, in Hebrews 8. So when it refers to this renewing of the covenant, when it says, see, the days are coming when I shall conclude with the house of Israel and the house of Judah a renewed covenant. So this is Jeremiah 31:31 that is kind of referring to. So Hebrews is quoting back to Jeremiah when you're asking if Jeremiah is related to Hebrews. Okay, so it is actually quoting back to that. This part is not what's going on here, but it's why we eventually get to it in Jeremiah 31, is that after going through this process of recognizing why they're in trouble and why Babylon was coming, to then give them the thing that Abba always does. He tells you, if you do this, this is the bad stuff's gonna happen, then the bad stuff happens, but he says, and there will be at a point in the future when the good stuff will come back when you learn your lesson. So eventually it does lead to that part of it, okay? So I'm not going to go through the 4 verses there. We don't have time at the moment. I believe I covered that in other places, probably in the Identity of Israel teaching, or Discovering Your Identity. Now we changed the name of the teaching, and other places like that. But maybe if we get to Jeremiah 31 in this teaching, which I'm not sure we will, because I'm not sure it talks much about evil there, but that's what it's connected to. Okay, next.
Okay, Pamela Schifford. Rabbi, what if we have a personal female problem and don't feel comfortable talking to a man?
Okay, you need to get over it. No, I'm serious. You need to get over it. Almost all of you, ladies, have had male doctors, haven't you? A lot of you have done that. A lot of, you go to the professional because the professional does what the professional does. And trust me when I tell you, there's nothing you can tell me from a female side of it I haven't heard. No sexual abuse, no physical abuse, no emotional abuse, no demonic stuff, no witchcraft. There's nothing you can tell me I haven't heard. I haven't counseled, I haven't handled. So you want to go where the help is. If it happens to be from a man, that shouldn't matter. But you need to feel confident that I will. See, some of you are thinking, well, it's a female thing, so how could you know and handle it? Because I've already done this for a long time. And so that's what this comes about, okay? If at some point I have trained women to send you to, then I would, okay? But I don't. I've got 2 Rebbitzins, but they're not trained in this, in the counseling part. Maybe someday they will be. I would send you to one of them. If you need counseling, as in like having like someone like a therapist work with you, I do have somebody like Janet I can send you to, okay? Because Janet's a professional therapist and she works with us, and I send people to her. And so maybe if that's what you need, then certainly I can refer you that way. But I can assure you, whatever you're dealing with, I can help you. Doesn't matter that I'm a man. I promise you that's true, okay? Next.
Nicole Davidson, how does your current definition of evil relate to a previous one you shared, where you defined it as anything that operates outside its intended function?
Okay, so this is now relating to what Yahweh would define as evil, or you might experience evil. When you do something that's outside the way something was designed, guess what happens? Suffering, ruin, harm, destruction, something like that. So therefore, it's evil. Okay, when you use something or do something that goes against the way it was intended to be done and used, there will eventually be harm, suffering, destruction, ruin. So that doesn't change my definition. Now bear in mind, every teaching I did before this teaching, I didn't clarify it as specifically as I'm doing now because it wasn't the point of the teaching. Evil came up as a part of the teaching. This teaching is literally about understanding what evil is. But yet, if I told you that doing something or using something in a way it was never designed to be used was evil, you can still see how true that is. Because it will cause harm or destruction or ruin or suffering on some level. Okay? All right, next.
All right, from, I guess, Issa Suarez. Proverbs 31, does it pertain to both women and men as a vertical structure? Proverbs 31.
Well, Proverbs 31 is talking about the woman of honor, of valor, specifically talking about a woman, Eshet Chayil, right? As Rabbi Tom likes to always refer to his wife, right? So the thing for the ladies to understand is, if you read that whole thing in Proverbs, is like you've got a lot of stuff to do in support of what your husband's doing. Those ladies were very productive. Now, guys, they were doing it as a support role. They weren't the ones who were like supporting you by doing all the work and you're sitting back. But that in addition to what you're doing, the man could trust the woman to be doing the things that she's doing, to allow her husband to do the things he's doing. Okay, but that chapter is specifically about women, but women within the vertical, that she does these things and then the man realizes how appreciative and proud he is at the end of the chapter. He says, you rise above them all. Okay? And it's not because you're so beautiful, it says. It's not about looks. It's about the character that you have. Okay? Next.
Okay, Evangeline Aglasso, let's see. Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 18. Can you please expound on this, Rabbi?
No. Okay, because it's going more into the pictures and metaphors that I skipped over last part in this part because it's not really a core to what we're talking about right now. But I will say this, back to the ladies, because I just thought of another thought with Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 woman is not thinking about being a stay-at-home housewife who just watches soap operas and eats bonbons. Because a lot of you ladies are thinking, I want to find a man who's going to work and take care of me, and I'm going to just sit at home, and that's not. They expect you to be productive on whatever level you're productive. Doesn't mean you have to go get a job. If you got children, then you raise those children. If those children are out in public school and you have a lot of time during the day, then you should be doing something that helps your husband in his vision going forward. Okay? Okay, this is not he works and you get to sit back and just reap the benefits of it. You're supposed to be a team working towards his vision. Men, there's nothing to work towards if you don't have a vision. All right? All right. We're gonna end here in a minute here. I don't know if we can get one more question. I think we're gonna good here. Look, for the men, and the ladies, you'll appreciate this too. We are starting here in the near future a men's program. All right? Now, I have a small group of men I'm starting with who I'm training to then train so that they can lead other groups. Small group format, we'll eventually do the same thing with the ladies. Starting with the men. You got to start at the top, right? You got to get the men right. Now, in this format and in this little group thing that we just started, and so don't ask me to join, don't ask me why you weren't. This is really, really a good test. Some of you are going to be all offended that you're not in this yet. Stop that. I handpicked who I picked for the reasons I picked them. Okay? No, don't take any negative out of that. Don't get offended by it. If you have any of those problems, then you're needing this class more than you think you do. You want it, but now you need it. And you will be able to be in it eventually. But understand, one of the main core things we're doing with this is creating the vision for the man. His vision for his life, for his family, for his career, for his spiritual walk, is creating that vision so that the others in his life can have a vision to support and buy into. Because a lot of you wives are thinking, my man doesn't have a vision, and he probably doesn't. But we can help him have one. Now, by have one, meaning have him pull it out of himself. We're not going to give him one. We're going to have him figure out what his vision is and draw that out. Deal with all the noise and junk in their lives so they can get the 5 main aspects of the areas of their lives in a right place. You know, their spiritual, their physical, their financial, et cetera, their health. All those things have to be in alignment and where they need to be. And so we're going to do that. So be excited. I've talked about this for years. We're actually started. There's a small group meeting right now. They're going through the process of developing the program as beta testers, and they're going to then be able to each one lead a small group through the same process. Okay? Amen? Okay? And so just to encourage you, ladies, be excited about it, guys, be excited about it. But the one thing I do not want to hear, you're just going to have to bite your lip and your tongue, is I don't want to hear anybody complaining that you're not in it right now. Don't go to Elder Billy, don't go to Rabbi, I don't want to hear it. Okay? Because all I'm going to do is hand you a diaper and a pacifier. I'm not kidding. Don't whine and complain. Be excited that you will be in one of these groups if you want to, eventually. All right? This group is who they are because it's who they are. All right? There's different reasons why different people are in this group. Some of them because they just pestered me until we started, and some of them because I really want them to be there. But every one of them is a person that I think can lead a group. That doesn't mean if you're not in it, you can't lead a group. It just means I picked a very small group of 4 or 5 people to start with. And you need to be okay with that. All right? But it has started, so be excited about that. All right? And I'm hoping that within a matter of a few months, because I want to make sure that other people are doing the small group thing. I won't name names or anything, but you know who they are out there. But they're being led by untrained people. And they're having too many people right away lead a group. I'm not going to send anybody out to lead a group until they're trained, like Yeshua did. Okay? All right? And I may train up more leaders after this batch, and then if you actually, I think, have the qualifications, you may be in my next group that I actually lead, okay? All right, because this one is not just for the men's development process, but also to be able to train to lead one. The other groups will be just for the men's development process, and if somebody happens to look like they could be a leader, they'll be sent to me to make sure I feel that they are. And then maybe they could lead a group, all right? And then they will train with me. So we should get excited about that. But I just want to preemptively strike, because I know there's at least a few people out there already that are thinking, how did I not get invited? It is what it is. Maybe so that you would deal with that emotion you just felt. All right? So don't be hurt or get those feelings back in the bag. All right? Don't let anybody step on them. Because I think this is going to be a great program. And everybody will have access eventually. All right? Now, once, and this goes back to the lady who asked the question about like counseling with a man. Once this is going along like it needs to, I, a man, will train the ladies to do the ladies one, okay? And then we'll have the ladies group also, just like with the men's, but I will train that group also, okay? And then we will have a few of the ladies who I think also would be good to lead the ladies, because Scripture does say that it's absolutely not only encouraged, but almost required that the older, wiser women are supposed to train up the younger, less wise women that having the experience. Except that somebody has to train them too. We haven't had the wiser women to train the ones we have now, okay? So we have to start that process. Okay, we have to start that process. And so we're going to do that. So I want us all to get excited about that, all right? Okay, with the main point being it's actually happening. It's not something I'm telling you someday. We're actually started this process. Okay, we've gone like 2 weeks now. We've started meeting together, the little group that I have, and it's moving forward. And just remember, you're actually going to be better off not in the first group, because we're just figuring it out as we're doing it. You're going to get something we've actually honed down. It'll be more effective and more efficient when it's offered to you, because we'll be better at understanding the right order we should have done things. We might do something that we say, you know what, it would have been better if we did it this way. We'll have it down and set and curriculum set up better for you guys after we're done than if you're in the first one, okay? So it actually, to some degree, is an advantage to be in the next batch. Even with me training you, I'll know better how I want to train you after doing it with these guys. All right, so just everything will be to an advantage in that way. But be happy that I have a few volunteers that are willing to go through it from scratch. All right, so that's good. Okay. Okay, so I'm sorry about whatever's on the questions on there. Anybody has questions you didn't get answered, bring them to the zone meeting next week if you're in zone 1, or the week after for zone 2 or for zone 3, okay? I do apologize for that. I went long. I think it was worth it for the extra stuff that you got, especially during prayer time, that extra little mini sermon. And I think every week now when we go to prayer time, we're gonna hug each other. I think that was good. Did you like that? Was that good? Because we want to make sure everybody gets COVID, and so we're going to just share that around. I'm sure there's people watching going, oh my gosh, they're all hugging each other. Yes, we are, because we love each other. All right.